What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow, and today I have a gear review on the Messenger Fight Gear XMT 3.0 Pro Training Gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today we have another pair of boxing gloves made by Messenger Fight Gear. These are the XMT Pro Edition 3.0 training gloves. Last video I did a review on the XXQ training gloves made by Messenger Fight Gear, and I said those were more towards the higher level intermediate gloves to the entry level pro gloves, and these are what I would call a really good quality professional glove, especially for the price that you can get this. Now right off the jump, I'm going to say, just like the XXQs, these are one of those gloves that when you get them out of the box and use them, you're just pleasantly surprised as to how good they are. Again, the price for performance with this glove, the amount of money that you spend on it, and the way that it works is absolutely amazing. And I love brands like that because I can offer you different brands out there that really do a good job as far as quality and price, compared to going to just a name brand that maybe won't even perform as good as these. And that's the thing about name brands. Sometimes, you know, they just they have a lot more popularity to them, a lot more people use them, therefore you know more about them, but sometimes even name brands don't last. And when you have a brand like Messenger that's out there that maybe not a lot of people know about, you might miss out on a really good glove in this case. Now, I knew about Messenger Fight Gear when Simon from Fit the Box and Carlo from C Squared reviewed them. I'm still a big fan of those guys. I respect their opinions on everything. It always gives me good ideas of some new gloves. Maybe I want to try down the line because they've tried way more than I have. But you know what? The big thing that they said about Messenger was exactly that. They're one of those brands that gives you great quality equipment without breaking the bank, and that's absolutely awesome. Now in this case, like I said, this is a good quality professional glove. This is what I would call their top tier glove. This is their luxury glove, as they call it online, actually. And there's only one other model that I see online, and that is the Elite XXM, I believe is what the title is, or XMM, I think XXM. And basically those are like a $10 difference from these even, but I don't know if those gloves are what they would consider their top tier, but I'm still able to tell you, because of the price point and the way that these gloves are made, this is some of Messenger Fight Gear's finest. And these, like I said, I do think are better made than the XXQs. I think the price point shows that. The XXQs go for $100. These go for about $150, which is a really good price point actually for a good level glove like this. And on top of that, the glove just feels better well made. The materials just feel more durable and better quality. I actually had a bit of a better training experience than these. Not to say I had a bad experience with the XXQs, but these gloves, in my opinion, are just a little bit better than the XXQs because of the fine details, and that happens with any brand out there. Usually the more money you spend, the better your glove is going to be. Doesn't always work that way, but in this case it does. But Messenger Fight Gear reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review a couple of their gloves, the XXQ and now the XMTs, and my answer was absolutely yes. I wanted to get a pair of their gloves for a long time, but just never got around to it. So when they reached out, I was very happy to oblige. And like I said, when you take these out of the box, you feel how durable they are. You feel the quality of the glove. Your room fills with the smell of cowhide leather, and then you use these for the first time. You can't believe that these go for $150. Well, that's the best part about Messenger Fight Gear that I've really enjoyed working with them about. They're very passionate about giving people good quality equipment without being too expensive, and I absolutely love that about Messenger Fight Gear. On top of it, they come from a long line of boxing equipment makers. He said that his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather were all into making boxing equipment, and they are proudly based out of Pakistan, Pakistan, which I believe their percentage in the world is 77% of the boxing gloves throughout the world are made in Pakistan. So that means that there are several Pakistan workshops that actually make gloves for different brands out there. I actually had an experience with a fella by the name of Fahim that was around our area years and years ago, who had a brand called Last Round Boxing, and it was like a local brand in the Albany, New York area. And he used to make gloves for different brands as well. And he said that's very common in Pakistan. He had a small little workshop back home, and basically Messenger does the same thing. But what Messenger wants to do is make their own model gloves, which is exactly what these are. This model isn't out to any other brands that I know of anyway, and they wanted to make it cheaper for everyone else to get to, so you can get a great quality glove without breaking the bank, and they're very proud of that. The other thing I love about Messenger is when I try to tell people about their gloves as I'm using them, they flat out said, "Don't tell us anymore. Let us know how you feel about them in the review. We like the surprise. We want a 100% upfront, honest review." And that was immediately for me enough to say this is a great brand, because there are several brands that always ask me, they try and keep in touch with me every step of the way with the gloves that I'm using, and they want to know more and more and more every single day. And sometimes they try and push a review. Not Messenger. They said, take your time, break them in, enjoy training of them. That was absolutely awesome of them. But with that said, guys, I had a long enough intro. I know I can get long-winded sometimes, but I love telling cool stories like that. But let's go ahead and get into the exact model that I have for you today. These, again, are the XMT Pro Edition 3.0s, and I gotta be honest, I don't know why that Pro Edition is in there. Maybe because they're trying to say they're a professional level glove, but there's no amateur edition, so I would just call them the XMT 3.0s. That way it's not that much of a mouthful. I have dyslexia, so reading all the letters and numbers sometimes is like, what's happening? But that's besides the point. I got them actually in the 14-ounce lace-up black colorway that we have going on here. They sent me a 14-ounce glove. I did put them on the scale just to make sure that they were 14 and not mislabeled. They were actually both weighed in at 13.9 and 13.8, so they're just right under the 14-ounce limit. And for me, for a 14-ounce glove, I usually worry that they're going to be really small in the hand compartment, because some gloves will either change the padding ratio, some gloves will change how the hand compartment is or the overall size. In this case, the hand compartment actually fits very similar to the XXQs. It is a little bit tighter on the back of my hand, but not bad at all, and I've really enjoyed using these. Still a nice protective glove, even for 14 ounces as me, a heavyweight. But I do have reasonably large size hands, and so to give you an idea, it does have a bigger hand compartment than some, but not too big. But that's the 14 ounce. You can get them in several different sizes: 8 ounce, 10 ounce, 10 ounce XL, 12 ounce, 14 ounce, 16, and 18. I believe just like the XXQ, the 18 ounce glove cost about $25 more, probably because they have to use more material to put on the inside of the glove compared to the other models out there. Then you also have them in Velcro. You can get them in the Velcro or hook and loop closure. In this case, I got the lace-up version, which has a really nice boxing glove feel. You know, most boxers prefer lace-ups. I like Velcro, but in this case, the lace-up worked just fine. And you also have them in a bunch of different colors. I saw them in like green, purple, I think I saw an orange model, a yellow model, and the black model that you have here. And on top of it, you can also get a custom pair of these gloves too that you can order online. That obviously costs a little bit more and will take a little bit longer to come to you in person. Usually this is about a 10 to 15 day shipping, I believe, coming from Pakistan to the United States. I think it's worth the wait. But when we come to this glove again, this is, for your reference, a 14 ounce lace up black coloration. There are several options online. Going into the actual look of the glove, you can see, to begin with, this glove is super shiny, very, very reflective, which is usually indicative of a really nice tanning process of the leather, which usually I go into this more in like the design of it, but it's called chrome tanning, and they use like a type of chromium salt, and a lot of boxing gloves do that because it's a very fast process and it keeps the glove, has that really nice slick design, and it keeps that really nice glossy look. In fact, a lot of Reyes gloves do that, I believe. That's why they're so shiny, and they iron it on top of it. That way it's even more shiny. They put like some type of gel over top of it, or like a leather poly type material. That way you shine it over. Similar with this glove, very, very shiny. So it's a really nice display piece too. It looks like a nice gem. So that's just a little piece of leather working for you, I guess. But in this case, you can see that we have a really nice shiny black color with the gold inlays, otherwise with like the lettering, and throughout the rest of the glove it has some gold here or there, like on the logos and the little trim down here. But you can see throughout the back of the punch surface all those really nice natural grains and the full grain leather that you have going throughout here on the thumb as well. It's all black until you come over here to the gold and it says Messenger, and it looks really nice, and that also reflects the light really well. The tips of the fingers, again, really shiny leather. You can see all the natural marks, and that is also black. We open the palm up. You can see that we got double line stitching throughout the glove, as well as some breathe holes, and that gives it a nice look to it as well to air it out. Again, double line stitching throughout the grip bar and all the way throughout the glove itself, and that is all black stitching. The laces are black. All the palm is black, and it's a really nice shiny leather too. We go over to the back of the glove. You can see we have a gold piping where the glove splits from the wrist cuff to the actual mold of the padding. And then here you can see, I'm going to start using what Bayonetta calls it the crystal effect. You know, people just call it a plastic sheath, but it's a crystal, and basically Messenger in gold. Unlike the XXQ, this actually has gold instead of silver like the XXQ. That says Fight Gear, and that says boxing/martial arts. Distinctly different, that is their phrase, and it has the Pakistan flag right there. Also has a tag that tells you this is a 14-ounce glove as well. You also have another tag right on the other side, which is 14-ounce right there. And when you open the glove up, not only do we have black laces, but the interior lining is black, and there's also a white tag on the inside that tells you, if I pull it back enough, that it is the Pro Edition XMT 3.0s, and these are really, really fun gloves to use. On the other side it says made in Pakistan, and it basically tells you, warning, combat sports are dangerous, which duh. Anyway, I love that. I know they have to do it, but I mean, we know. But when we go into the actual build of the glove, we can talk about the outer shell being made out of what seems like a full grain leather, actually, because you can see all the natural grain marks and imperfections, and there's some creases in the hide. And full grain is basically what you get like when you look at a cow. That's full grain leather basically. So the tanning process is basically they take that, they don't do anything with the hide. It just means the cow is in that good a shape. They take the hair off and everything, they tan it that way. In this case they used chrome tanning, I believe, and it is a really thick, and you can even hear it. It feels like a really nice brand new leather coat that cost a good chunk of money. So this is not cheap leather at all. It is all the way throughout the entirety of the glove, from the back of the glove, the thumb. You can talk about the palm of the glove being made out of that. The piping is made out of that same leather. It is a very durable leather that you do not often see for a glove, even that goes for about 150 bucks. Very rarely have I seen gloves around this price point. The only other glove I would say has leather almost as durable, if not just as durable, I'd say they're like neck and neck, would be Top Boxer, and those gloves go for about 120. Those gloves support the same leather that I'm feeling here, or sport rather. And you can see we have a very thick hide over top of it, and it is a very soft and supple leather, and that's the whole point of chrome tanning too. It actually makes it more of a supple leather and a more of a smooth surface. Also gives it that glossy texture as well too. So that's really, really cool. Overall, the leather of this glove for $150 is absolutely astonishing, and when you take it out of the box, the whole room smells like a genuine cowhide. And it smells really good still, even now. There's like no artificial scent to it. It smells incredible, like a brand new wallet, brand new coat. And I'm a leather nut, so I was really shocked to see that for $150, this glove has this good quality leather. The padding, very similar to the XXQ, actually has a multi-layered foam, but it feels like it's more of a dense foam here. And that's the nice part about this. I did like that this was a little bit firmer, because the XXQ might be even too soft for some. It does break in perfectly. When you first get this out of the box, it is rather stiff, but I'd say after about 3 or 4 or 5 minute rounds on the bags, they started to form to my hand and get a lot softer. And they actually feel like they're protecting my knuckles a lot more. They do have more of that like pillow factor to it, but they still have enough give to where you feel energy popping on the bag. They're very protective for the padding and that multi-layered foam mold. If I have to guess, you probably have 3 or 4 layers of high density open cell foam pad, and that's what you got going on here, and it feels awesome. You have the same exact padding that's going on the back of the glove too for the back of the wrist, and it has a little bit more give towards the bottom because it does get a little bit thinner like most gloves do, and it feels really nice, and that cradles the back of your hand. On top of it, when you smush the actual knuckles in, you can see it's resisting a lot more than the other gloves did. They squished right in. This is about as far as I can do it without like really, I'm like trying to push this in. You can see my hand shaking. It is hard to do that. So it's very protective, and it's going to stop impact right on site when you strike something, which is a very comforting feeling. And it gives you a really nice feeling on bags and pads. And on top of it, because of that leather, it gives you a really nice loud crack on the bags and pads. It's actually really fun. You have the same type of padding that's here on the thumb. It's a little bit softer, so I'd say it's probably just one layer here, maybe two, and it feels really soft. And it also puts you in a nice natural punch position right behind the knuckles, tucking it right in there. The thumb attachment is a little bit tighter than the XXQ, so it does give you more of like a, not force, but it does keep you in a better thumb position, so you're not at risk of jamming your thumb at all, which is good. So if you have thumb issues, that's definitely a good design here. When we go to the palm of the glove, we can talk about the grip bar being incredibly soft. I'd say just as soft as the thumb over here, and a little bit softer than the actual padding on the back of the glove and the knuckle compartment. This feels really, really good and gives you a nice solid grip. You can see that we have all those breathe holes, just kind of give you some airflow going to the glove itself so it doesn't rot from the inside out. And on top of it, you got that double line stitching going all throughout the palm of the glove. You also have the piping here, which is a little bit tighter than the XXQ. Not so much, but I think that's just the quality of the leather. It doesn't feel like it's constricting the inside of your thumb here, but it does feel a little bit tighter on the inside. You can also see that we have some padding on the side of the glove and on the other part of the forearm and the palms. That's just kind of to balance the glove out a little bit more. And on top of it, it does take a little bit of sting off if you're getting punched on the arms, say if you're catching kicks on like Muay Thai and stuff, that it does take a little bit of steam off it, and it does help a little bit, saves your forearms a bit. So it is soft, like I'd say EVA foam that's going throughout here, and it feels really good. Going to the back of the wrist, the whole wrist cuff is made out of a really firm EVA foam, and that's just to give you more wrist splinting, like wrist support, kind of like a cast, and it feels really good, and it feels really supportive on the back of the hand. The other thing that this glove does is you can see you've got like a raised splint, kind of, so the glove is separated into two spots. You can see the cuff is separated from the actual top mold of the glove. Very similar to the XXQ. It is definitely a top heavy glove. I put my hand in the center and you can see it falls right down over there. So there still is more weight going towards the front than the back. It's also a smaller profile glove, even with lace ups. So if it's a shorter glove that you're not a fan of, that's fine, and you would look into something different, but still the wrist support is good because of that nice EVA foam on the back. And also that wrist splint there is raised. That way you have a perfect track for the lace to give you a good wrist support. I imagine the Velcro version is more or less the same, and the Velcro will strap right over that splint as well. The laces are really, really loose and long, which is awesome. The eyelids are great to pull. You really only need to pull the first 2 or 3, and it opens up wide, fans out really good. And the interior lining is very similar to the XXQ, that very soft poly cotton. And on top of it, it's very foamy, just like the other glove too. So the interior lining is cushioning the back of your hand while punching as well. So you got the foam of the glove that's pushing on the back of the lining, that's keeping everything in a really nice shape. And it's also providing more support because you have more of those layers of padding that's actually keeping your hand protected. The glove slides on perfectly in a really nice natural punch position. You can see my knuckles line up just like that, even better than the XXQ. So it does have a bit more of a natural fist, but I will say this is more of a pure boxing glove because it does open reasonably well, but it stops about right here. And you can kind of feel where there might almost be like an EVA foam layer that kind of keeps it from going up too far to keep your knuckles nice and protected. The tips of the fingers, like by the finger pads, are really nice and padded as well, and the grip bar gives you an awesome fit, and your fingers do not creep out of the glove at all, and they don't cramp up at all either. Still, a 14-ounce glove is a little bit too small for my hands. I'm still able to wrap my hands on the inside of these, so the 14-ounce is still a pretty spacious glove, but just understand I am a heavyweight. My hands are a little bit bigger. You know, I don't know how much bigger the actual 16-ounce glove would be. I imagine a little bit more, but it's still a pretty comfortable glove for me, and I've used these for bags and pads a lot, and I do compete in MMA. So honestly, I mean, we'll spar in 7-ounce sparring gloves. So my coach really doesn't throw up too much of a fuss if I put on a pair of 14-ounce gloves. I always tell you guys, so long as the padding is safe, they're safe to spar in. I'd rather have a 14-ounce glove that has big puffy padding compared to a 16-ounce glove that has little to no padding on all the weights in the wrist. In this case, most of the weight is up by the knuckles, and this glove has more padding for a 14-ounce glove than a lot of 16-ounce gloves I can think of, including the Fairtex BGV1 that I see right here. Does not have as much padding as this does, especially not the right padding to really protect you and your sparring partners. It's still a smaller profile glove, but it fits really well. The laces are nice, and when you actually track the lace right across the back of the wrist, right over top of it here on the leather itself, it feels really good. I think it was more designed to go right under here on the plastic. That way the plastic will kind of stop the leather from creasing. But for me, the wrist does rest a little bit here above that. So I do the technique that I grew up knowing as pinching, where you just pinch that part of the leather and you're good to go. And it gives you excellent wrist support. In my opinion, most of the time you're going to have better wrist support with lace-ups, and in this case there's no exception there. I do believe the wrist support is that much better because you're able to tie a really tight knot right around your wrist, and then you're able to keep it there, and it's nice and supported. Never had a wrist issue in these, especially not a knuckle issue because of that nice dense padding. But again, it doesn't really open as well as I wish it did. It does break in very easily, and the padding does soften up over time. But let's go ahead and go into the bag work. That way you can see these in live action, and then we'll come back with my final thoughts. When it comes to hitting the bags with these gloves, they feel very protective all around. Although some of the weight is more towards the top, the wrist support cinches up perfectly, gives you that great brace feeling. And on top of it, the padding is incredible, and it has that nice spongy feel when you're hitting the bag. So it really protects your knuckles, the back of your hand, your wrist. And I love how light they are. Granted, they are a 14-ounce glove, but I'm able to really get nice solid punches off. My form doesn't suffer for any reason, which is amazing. As you could see earlier, I couldn't get the best grip on the bag. So for Muay Thai and MMA, maybe not the best, but for purely boxing, I think these are one of the better midline professional gloves I've tried on the bag. So when it comes to the look of this glove, it has that basic but really elegant kind of like executive look, I guess is the way I would word that. I see the messenger in gold across the back of the glove and think of like a principal's nameplate almost. Maybe because I work in schools, that's why. But it has that really nice look, the black leather, the gold lettering, and then on top of it, the gold shine at the base of the wrist. I think people are really going to think that you're sharp looking when you walk on the mat with these gloves. All right, folks, my final verdict here for the XMT Pro Edition 3.0 training gloves by Messenger Fight Gear is I've really enjoyed using these. And as far as bags and pads, these have been one of my favorite gloves I've used over the last couple of years. The crack I get on the bags and pads just is a really nice feel. They protect my knuckles. They have a really nice forward punching pressure. And that is one thing that I found out by using these two gloves, that it could just be a character trait of Messenger gloves in that they are primarily top heavy. It's not always a bad thing depending on who you're going through. Some people like the glove to be completely balanced so it feels like it is one unit with your hand. In this case, it is definitely heavier towards the top, and you can even see that it sags. But compared to the XXQ, which was even shorter in my opinion and like dangled, you can see that you still have a stiff backing to provide great wrist support. And on top of that, that lace up closure is often going to provide much better wrist support because you're able to pinch really tight over the back of your wrist. So that's always a really plus side when it comes to gloves like these that are a little bit more top heavy. But let's go ahead and get into the things I really enjoy about the gloves, and then we'll go into the things that maybe I would change. But first off, the things I like is the quality that you get for this glove at 150 is really surprising. The outer shell of this leather is amazing. I don't think it's a top grain. It feels like a full grain, especially the way that it looks compared to like my full grain coats and other full grain gloves that I've tried. All the natural grain marks that you can see throughout the entirety of the glove, the thickness of the hide, the way it feels, and it sounds silly, but the way it sounds feels like a full grain leather, and especially the scent. I can't mistake that scent from full grain. Top grain and full grain are very minute differences. Top grain is when they shave the imperfections off, but personally, I can see lines and stuff from the cow itself. In my opinion, I've been around leather for a while. This is a full grain leather, and for 150, it might be a lower tier full grain, but it's still full grain nonetheless, and it feels incredible, very durable. I think they used a chrome tan type metal method because this is a very glossy, shiny glove, and it looks absolutely awesome. So overall, the leather quality is outstanding. With that said, if you don't like taking care of leather, then maybe you still don't want that glove. You want to look at like a microfiber composite and stuff like that. That's up to you to decide. That's your decision and your preference. But the leather is absolutely awesome. But remember, with good leather quality, the less you have to take care of it, as far as like, it doesn't need to be cleaned as much as cheap quality leather, because cheap quality leather will tend to wrinkle very quickly, crack and fade. In this case, it looks brand new, just like when I took it out of the box 4.5 months ago. No sign of wear on it at all. And I only used a little bit of leather honey just to see how the leather reacts, and it reacted fine. And so if you need to use a leather cleaner, use it. Otherwise, just for now, use a Lysol disinfectant wipe or whatever it is, just to wipe the glove down to make sure that it's clean and no bacteria is getting into it and eating the leather apart and cracking it. Once leather starts to go, it can't be saved, unfortunately. You can help it, but it can't be completely saved. So overall, the durability on the outside is incredible. They actually say they said to me that they claim that their gloves can last 5 to 6 years. And honestly, with the durability of the leather that you have here, I believe it. The protective qualities of this glove are really impressive as well. I do think they are better than the XXQs in that department because the foam is a little bit stiffer. It's not so stiff to where you're going to hit something and it's going to feel like a brick. It feels like you're getting cradled by a tank, and that's absolutely awesome. It cradles your knuckles, gives you really nice feedback. You can hit the bag as hard as you want. I've never once felt anything wrong with my knuckles. And in fact, when I put the glove on, I can't really even feel the outlines of my knuckles because of how densely padded the glove is, and because of where the knuckle pad is on the inside of the glove. It is keeping me nice and protected. And also it keeps you in that nice natural punch position, so when you punch, it doesn't damage anything and it doesn't move your hand in an unnatural position as well. The other nice thing about this glove is, I think with the laces, the wrist actually has better wrist support than the XXQ as well. Feels really good, but I still say it's top heavy. So does it have the best wrist support I've ever tried? No, but the knuckle padding is great. The natural fist position with the thumb is awesome. I've never jammed my thumb. Feels really comfortable, but it is more or less for boxers because it is a little tight up here, which isn't a bad thing either. I'm still able to get reasonable grips if I want to do like my pivots and my handles and stuff like that. But as far as that goes, the durability is awesome. The natural punch position is awesome. The overall feel of the glove and the performance is awesome. And overall, the comfort of the glove is great too. It doesn't feel like I'm in an unnatural, forced, fixed position. The interior lining keeps it nice and soft on the back of my hand, and it feels like a nice foamy pillow. And actually, the inside of the thumb is more of the leather feel, so unlike the XXQ, you don't feel it fraying on the inside at all, which I really enjoy about this glove as well. Now when we go into some of the things that I would change about the glove, I think just basically maybe fixing the weight distribution for some people is what they would want. I personally like top heavy gloves because my type of punching style is I throw punches in bunches, and I like having that extra, boom. It feels like my whole arm is just falling into the punch. I love that fit and feel, and I also bring my hands back easily because of the weight distribution. That's just the type of glove I like. Or I need the glove to be completely well balanced, where it just feels like an extension of my hand. In this case, it does feel a little bit top heavy. Some people may not like that, but it doesn't really jeopardize your training all that much unless it's just a personal preference and you really don't like having that top heavy feel. Some people might also see that as something that would sacrifice wrist support. I do believe if you wrap your hands up fine and you lace up your gloves, unless you have terrible chronic wrist issues, you might want to look elsewhere. But in this case, I don't think it has the worst wrist issues because of this, but perhaps they could put a wrist bar there, or maybe just put a little bit more weight in like the foams towards the base of the glove down there. But I know that might mean they have to sacrifice the padding towards the top of the knuckles. I would also say, because that padding is so dense, when you punch, it doesn't really cause your wrist to bend or move. And on top of it, it has a very stable wrist. I can't really push it up so far, and it doesn't really snap down so far either. This is about as much as I can curve it down, which is not a lot. It's still in a pretty good punch position here. But I've never once had my wrist snap down or move off to the side. It's always stayed pretty good in that natural position. So just be careful, I guess, if you have bad, brittle wrists, perhaps look at a different glove that has a longer wrist cuff. It's usually well known that if you have a short wrist cuff, the wrist support isn't going to be as good, but I think with the laces, it works really well. As far as the Velcro version of this glove, I don't know. But the laces for me, I can tie a knot really tight over the wrist bones and I'm good to go. And then the price point of $150, I think is fair for the materials that you have. And I think the other glove I would like kind of compare it to as far as like quality goes for around the same price point is like Top Boxer gloves. Those leathers feel very similar to this, but I think Top Boxer wins because the price point is about $120 to $130 for each glove. It's a $20 difference, but honestly, I'd put them like neck and neck. I think $150 would be fair, and that's probably just to make up for the cost of the overall glove itself. But I think if they knocked it down to like $120, I'd buy them every day and twice on Sunday because these are absolutely awesome. And they're one of those brands that I would say, you know, again, you want a good quality glove that's not going to break the bank. Go look at the XMT by Messenger is what I would tell you. Similar to like when I say, go look at Top Boxer because they make really good quality gloves that don't break the bank. And they're both Pakistan-made brands too. So I think they both prove that Pakistan gloves can be absolutely awesome. Other than that, do I have any other complaints about the glove? No, I think I would just maybe fix the glove being a little bit longer for some, but for me, I love the forward punching pressure, and I love how the glove is constructed. I think it's very comfortable, and I think it performs exceptionally well. I will say though, as far as some things I might change is make the glove a little bit looser in the hand compartment like you did with the XXQs. Perhaps because of the density of the foam, it's harder to do that, but I don't say it's as good as the XXQ for say sports like mixed martial arts or Muay Thai. This is definitely more in your area of a boxing glove, and I think that's where this glove maybe falls just a touch short, but not by much. But that's just my opinion. So with that said, Al, what type of rating would you give these gloves? Well, I put them above the XXQs, and I don't put them in the B tier as a good glove. I give them an A tier as a great glove, and I'm still going to give them an 8 out of 10 just for those wrist reasons, because I do think that some people that have chronic wrist issues will not like these gloves. They could bend down a little bit, not by much, and I think with the laces, it's going to fix that problem anyway. But some people will not even look at a glove that has a short wrist cuff like this. I personally say that the padding is good enough to where it's going to keep you nice and solid and protected, and it's going to stop that shock before it even gets into your wrist. Trust me, if you use these, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm giving you every amount of detail I can give you just so you can go into that. But you have to think about it this way. $150, a roundabout number for this, is an excellent price point for a really good professional quality glove, and I do put them in like that mid-tier pro glove. I would prefer these over a lot of other gloves in that $120 to $150 range, and there are gloves that I've tried for $200 plus that just don't pull off as good a job as these gloves did. The quality of the glove is outstanding. The durability is outstanding. If they're telling me it's going to last 5 or 6 years, I kind of have to agree with them a little bit, but I would safely always tell you with gloves like these, if you take care of the leather and the padding, I would see these lasting you no less than 3 years, so long as you take care of them. The lining is very comfortable, very easy to maintain these gloves because the leather is good quality. All you gotta do is just wipe it down with disinfectant wipes. Every now and again, just get something like a leather conditioner or just a leather cleaner either. Even just so you can kind of keep the glove in good condition, and that's just being conscious of how you're taking care of your gear. But besides that, they don't stink at all. The lining doesn't maintain moisture well, which is good, meaning that it doesn't have moisture that just hangs around. It dries out very quickly, although most thick foamy linings do absorb moisture just a touch more, so if the gloves get a little heavier over time, that's entirely normal. Every glove does it. But it still airs out very easily. If you just leave it out for 20 to 30 minutes, you'll notice that it is drying out quickly. But with that said, guys, I hope I answered all your questions when it comes to the XMTs by Messenger Fight Gear. But if I didn't, please comment below and let me know. And of course, let me know what gloves you want me to review next. And as always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for reviews just like these. They're 3 small clicks for you, but they're 3 big steps for the channel. We're at 11.7 thousand subscribers already. We're almost to 12. Almost already. I'm just frothing at the mouth. We're almost to 12,000 subscribers already, and it's all because of you guys. And of course, follow me on my social media pages and message me on any one of those. And a lot of you guys have been utilizing emails lately, and I really appreciate that. I love talking to you guys, getting to know you, and I always love the glove counseling that I give. I love that people call it that. But guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for choosing your source for combat sports, The Combat Corporation. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.